60, The Answer.
With the power of Tandem HR, you are in the fast lane on Main Street with Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs. Now, the champion of networking, the advocate of jobs, the guru of business, your host, Shalom Klein.
Jimmy Dean once said, I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. We are all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship and business. We talk a lot about business here. You are on with Get Down to Business, and I'm your host, Shalom Klein. Remember, you can always download podcasts from Get Down to Business on my website at shalomklein.com. And while you are there, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Shalom Klein. It's going to be a jam-packed week of content and information you won't want to miss. This week, we're going to kick off the show with Tom Figiel from Tandem HR, and we've got a lot of advice, a lot of information that you won't want to miss a minute of. You're listening to Get Down to Business. Get on my website, shalomklein.com. Get Down to Business is powered by Tandem HR. Check them out, tandemhr.com, and thrilled to have a true expert on leadership, on coaching, and a returning guest, Tom Figiel. Welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Shalom. Glad to be here.
Of course. So, Tom, we're going to talk a little bit about coaching. What does coaching mean to you?
Coaching is all about helping someone make a change, improve their performance, do something different. But ultimately, it leaves the person, after the end of the coaching process, more capable and able to make the better decisions and achieve what they want to well after the coaching is completed.
Okay, so we've all heard that term business coach. Is a business coaching or a coaching the same as counseling, or how are they different?
That's a great question. Coaching and counseling may intersect sometimes, but for the most part, they are different. And difference is in the length of engagement. Coaching is usually a set time, usually 3 to 6 months, and the focus is on achieving a certain goal. And it's looking forward, future focus. What capabilities do you need to learn, or what things do you need to stop doing to meet your goals? Counseling is more looking in the past and helping uncover past situations to maybe determine why someone is struggling right now.
Interesting. So, Tom, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been a coach?
Sure. So I've received my coaching certification in January 2010 and have been coaching professionally since then. But in my 23 years in human resources, I've coached, I would say, probably 500 to 1,000 people.
Oh, my goodness. You've heard everything, I'm sure.
I've heard and seen it all.
Oh, that's amazing. So I know everybody's a little bit different, but when you coach managers and leaders, what is your focus?
My focus first is to help people understand that whenever they move from an individual contributor role to a manager or leader role, it requires new skills and new values to learn to be effective in that role. So it's a transition. And a lot of times people make the transition and are not given any training or not given any guidance as far as what they should do. I hear it all the time from the people I coach. Well, I don't know what I don't know. So first I share with them the requirements, the skills such as delegating, performance management, being able to give feedback as far as what people need to be competent in, as well as the values. Visible integrity and being accountable every day are very important competencies that people must master to be effective in their role as a manager and leader.
And a manager and leader is always growing, right? Always improving.
Exactly right.
Interesting. So you and I talked before you came into the studio, and you mentioned the term ramp coaching. What does ramp coaching mean?
Yes, it is my model that I developed a couple of months ago, and it's an acronym. And
listeners, you're about to hear something amazing. Tune in.
And it stands for requirements, alignments, misalignments, and practice. So that is the process I use with the people I work with. As we said, number one, I share with them what are the requirements to be a manager and leader, the factual requirements. Then we collect data using a personality assessment, doing coworker interviews, and we learn where the employee is aligned with the skills and values they need to be effective, and maybe where they have some misalignments, and maybe where their behavior is hindering them to be an effective leader. Then we take that and we prioritize the changes necessary to be effective, and then we create practice stretch exercises to give them a chance to practice and learn and reflect on their behavior changes and the results they get from that.
RAMP coaching, and again, it stands for what?
Requirements, alignments, misalignments, and practice. Good
for you. Great model. So as our listeners know, I love to hear stories. I love to hear examples. Can you provide us with some examples of how your coaching has benefited your clients and their companies?
Sure. As I mentioned before, it's very common that one of the statements I get from the people I work with is, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that I am accountable for my employees' performance. A lot of times people think, well, hey, if my staff makes mistakes, that's their issue. But no, number one, you have to be accountable for your employees. I hear from the sponsors all the time that after the coaching, their employees are less stressed. They're more comfortable. They have developed better relationships with their staff. They're delegating. They're delegating a lot more. I always hear from staff that they're stressed out because they think that they can't delegate to their staff because they're not going to do it right. But they learn that once they do delegate, then it reduces a lot of their stress and they're able to get more done.
Interesting. So first of all, how much does coaching cost? It sounds like an amazing process, something that all of our listeners, leaders, I consider everybody who listens to the show a leader. Leaders need coaching, but how much does it cost? And who typically in a company pays for coaching?
Yes, great question. I work with primarily middle managers, people who are new to the leadership or manager position, and typically, those types of engagements are about $4,000, and in the general coaching market, that's kind of on the low end. Coaching can cost, the executive coaches out there can cost up to $600-700 an hour. So my coaching is usually about $4,000. That involves 10 or includes 10 1-hour sessions.
Interesting. And companies, the CEOs, they are typically, as you said, sponsoring their middle managers?
Correct.
Interesting. Very interesting. We're talking with Tom Figiel of Tandem HR. Fascinating information about coaching being shared with us. But what is the typical ROI, the return on the investment from coaching? What can leaders expect at the end of whether it's 10 sessions or 25 sessions that something will be different, something will be better?
Right. It's a great question. I get from my sponsors usually one of the first things they ask, what am I going to get for this? And there's two things that I provide that assesses the return on investment. Number one, in my process, the first thing I do is ask the sponsor, what are your expectations? What do you want to see?
So you cater it for them.
I cater it for them. What do you want your manager to look like? What do you want them to do after the coaching? And I commit it to writing. And I state, okay, and confirm with the sponsor, this is what you want done. And they say yes. And it's the first thing I provide to my client when I'm working with them. Hey, this is what your manager and I are expecting us to get done. So at the end.
And is that a written document?
It's a written document. Very simple. Sometimes it's just a 2-3 liner. And at the end of the coaching engagement, I conduct a survey of the sponsor and the coach and ask them to the extent that the expectations were met. And then secondly, in more of a formal ROI, there are plenty of surveys out there, one from the International Coaching Association that says the ROI can be up to as 500% of the cost of coaching.
Fascinating. Great advice, great information. We learned a little bit about coaching. We learned what RAMP coaching is. We talked with Tom about his experiences in being a coach. And I'm sure our listeners have many questions for you. So how can they get a hold of you if they want to learn more about coaching and that process, and maybe even talk about setting their goals and their objectives in the process?
Sure. The best way to reach me is my email, tfigiel@tandemhr.com.
Fantastic. And do you have a website where some of this information is posted?
Sure. It's Figiel at FigielCoaching.com.
Fantastic. Once again, Tom Figiel of Tandem HR. Great advice, great information. Tandem HR really is a great resource for so much information. Check them out online at tandemhr.com. But Tom, what's your favorite place to travel?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I would say right now, in the summertime, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin,
Yes.
Okay. I don't hear that one often. Wisconsin is a beautiful place.
Beautiful place. The lakes and the Upper Peninsula, beautiful at this time of year.
Fantastic. Well, that's, business owners need to unwind as well.
That's true.
So that's important. If you want to have a good coaching experience, get out to Wisconsin for a day or two so you can have a clear mind. You're listening to the show that's all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. After the break, we're going to check in with executive business coach and Vistage Chair Dick Smith. You won't want to miss it. You're listening to the show that's all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Tom Figiel, thanks for joining us on the program. We'll be sure to have you back on real soon. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Get Down to Business.